Hello and welcome to Scaled Down Customs. On the workbench today is going to be Revell's 1969 Yenko Camaro. This kit was given to me by a coworker who I guess started the kit a long time ago. I'm not really sure what the backstory on it, but I'm not sure if he decided he wasn't going to build it anymore, or anyway, he had heard that I build model cars, and so he gave me the kit. But I'm actually going to build this up and then give it back to him. I'm going to try not to describe my processes too much. I'm just going to work on this kit, just build it up and get it done, and get it back to him as a gift. But I mean, if you want a little bit more descriptions on what I'm doing, all of my previous videos, I pretty well go through and describe my processes. So on this one, I think I'm just going to build it up and get it finished out. So let's do that. All right, so I got my body sanded down, ready for primer, as well as most of my other parts. Got them all cut off the sprue and the mold lines and everything sanded down. So I'm ready to start priming some stuff. And then I also removed the kit chrome from the chrome sprue with just some oven cleaners. So I'll need to clean these off and get them sanded down and ready for primer as well. But let's go spray some primer. All right, so I've just been making a little progress here and there. I've been, after a coat of primer, I just kind of started spraying some of my parts with the semi-gloss black, just the Tamiya paint. And then, as I typically do with my first coat of primer, I just used that as a guide coat and then wet sanded my edges down, my flat surfaces, just to get everything nice and smooth. Because once you start using a straight sanding device and start going over some of, especially the roof, especially your panel lines, any edges, the plastic is always higher in those areas. And so I like to kind of just go over and block sand those just to get them nice and smooth with the rest of the panel. And so now that I've done that, and while I was spraying the black, I just went ahead and sprayed the underside of the car. I might have to do some touch up on that. I'll mask off these windows and go ahead and get a second coat of primer on this car and keep moving ahead. All right, so I got my second round of primer on there. Got it sanded down with just a used 600 grit sanding sponge just to smooth off any dust spots that may be in there and give me a nice smooth finish. So I'm ready to go paint that, and for my paint I'm going to do a two-tone. So I'm going to do a black with some gray racing stripes. So I'm going to go spray that. I'm going to spray the racing stripes first and then mask those, and then we'll spray the car black, and hopefully that'll give us a good two-tone paint job. And then I've also been kind of detail painting some of the other pieces as well. So the headers, I just did them in chrome and then did some heat staining on those, and then detail painting some of the other pieces and parts and getting them ready for to be installed as well. So I'm going to go spray that gray and be back in a bit. Alright, well, I got her all painted up. I apologize for not showing the unmasking. That's always a satisfying part, but evidently I was not recording for that, so I apologize for that. But anyway, so that's the two-tone for the car. So I'm going to let that dry up, and then we'll get a clear coat on that. And while we're letting that dry, let's move on to the interior. So I want to do a two-tone interior, like a dark leather insert for the seats. So let's start masking and getting ready to paint those. Alright, so It's a little darker than I was hoping, but I just kind of wanted a subtle look, so I guess that's subtle. Maybe next time I'll do like a gray primer and then the brown leather so I get a little bit truer of a color. But anyway, that looks pretty good, so let's keep moving ahead. All right, I got my wheels all painted up and ready to put together. I did sand the tread down to kind of take off any excess mold lines that are there, and I think it just gives it a nice, realistic, slightly worn look. One thing to think about when you're gluing your wheels together is you want to use a clear part safe or a foam safe super glue, because the regular super glue, as the gas escapes, it'll cloud the rubber, the plastic on your wheels, just like it does the clear parts. So when you're gluing your wheels, just use a clear part safe or a foam safe super glue. All right, so got a couple coats of clear on there. I let that set up while I was working on the other stuff. And so, as always, I've got some dust spots in there that I need to spend some time sanding out. Full on like hair or something right there. But I like to do that anyway, because also the clear, just like the plastic, will kind of pool up around some of the panel lines. So I want to smooth those off anyway. So we're going to start sanding this down, just doing some wet sanding. And I think I'm going to start with my 5000 grit polishing pad first and see if I can get most of the imperfections and blemishes out with that, so that I don't have to go too aggressive. So let's start some wet sanding. So I'm just going to be using a little bit of water with a drop of dish soap, and we're going to cut this car down a little bit. All right, and then for my really bad spots, I'm going to be using a 3000 grit wet dry sandpaper for those, and then go back to my 5000 polishing pad. All right, I got my spots blended in and my imperfections sanded down. You can also do this if you have any orange peel or anything like that. Just kind of sand it down so it's a dull finish, and then we're going to polish it back out. And to do that, I'm going to be using my construction grade close quarters drill. Of course, this is way overkill, but I couldn't find anything else that could do a slow enough variable speed. All of the smaller tools, they would just spin way too fast. And I need something with a little more control, so that's way too big, but that's what we have. And then I'll be just using some gradients of polishing sponges. These are just 1-inch sponges. So the orange is the most stiff, the yellow is medium, and the black is just right, or the softest. And then we'll be just using some automotive grade polish just to bring out the finish in all this. So let's start polishing. All right, and just with one pass, that is looking really good. But I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this polished down. Like I said, I'll be moving through my softer sponges and a less aggressive polish as well, and just get this thing polished up, and then we'll be ready for some final touch-up trim painting and final assembly. All right, we got her all polished out again, looking nice and shiny. So now we just need to paint the window trim. So I need to mask it off so that I can paint that. And I am going to match the rims, which is that all-clad black chrome, which means I need to, once I get it masked off and cut out, gloss black, then the black chrome, and then a clear coat finish on top of that. So let's do that, and then we'll be ready to start putting some stuff together after I do a little bit more of just the touch-up paint for the door handles and the side marker lights. So let's start masking it up. Alright, I was getting all excited that I was making progress on the build and I forgot to tint my rear window, and I really think that's going to look better on this type of build. So I'm going to go do that, and I'm just going to be spraying with the airbrush, and I'll thin down some Tamiya smoke and spray that on that back window, and hopefully I can contain my spray a little bit. So let's go do that. Alright, well, I got the back window tinted, but as I was trying to clean off a little bit of the overspray, I of course bumped it, so that's not going to work. So I need to take this off, and there's a couple ways I could do this. I was thinking about wet sanding it down, which maybe I'll still do. Maybe I'll just wet sand that down a little bit and then try to polish it back out. The other way is to use some isopropyl alcohol and just take it off that way. But anyway, I always got to do something to give myself more work to do. But so now I need to focus on that, then start putting some stuff together. All right, well, that's a little bit deeper than I was hoping, so I'm going to use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol as well. All right, I got most of the paint off, a little bit of smudges on the windows, so we're going to polish that out and then repaint it. All right, that looks much better. All right, let's move ahead with some assembly. All right, and with that license plate installed, that is going to complete this build. So I know I kind of jumped all over the place on this one, but that's usually how I build my cars actually. I just kind of sit down and whatever I need to work on, I start working on that part. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. So I'm going to get all my fingerprints wiped down, get this thing ready for the glamour shots. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.